Okay, so I'm going to share everything you need to know about your candidate NACCAS visit. This is the first visit. It's a friendly visit, but NACCAS is going to send you an email and make sure that you send in the NACCAS pre-on-site evaluation survey. And you want to make sure that you submit this within 48 hours of you receiving it. So you're going to put uh, today's date, your school name, your reference number here, the date of your visit, the name of the school representative. That will probably be the school owner, whoever's going to be talking with NACCAS from your school address. Most of y'all won't have an expanded campus, so you can put NA on that, NA, your school website, phone number, any alternative names. A lot of y'all will put NA right there. And the person at the school who's going to be talking to NACCAS, that will probably be you, the school owner, title, owner, phone number, email, and the last workshop that you attended, put the date. Also, you can provide any additional designated contacts. That'll probably be an NA on most of y'all. And you don't have to fill this out right here. Some of this you do, but you want to definitely put this right here, the time they supposed to arrive, the times classes begin. Will there be private parking available? You can answer these questions. Please make sure you got parking for NACCAS. The year standards for your ISS, whatever ISS you did, the year is on your ISS, put that year there. Please provide any relevant information you'd like for the team members to be aware of. That will probably be NA in most cases. Make sure you put your program names like Barber, Cosmo, Nails, Aesthetics, whatever the name is, how many hours that program is, and if you have any currently attending students, how many are enrolled, put that number, the names and instructors for each program, you put that, the language, whether it's English, Spanish, or both. Graduates in the past 12 months, you're going to put that number there. Do that for each program and put the totals. So that is actually the on-site evaluation survey. Make sure you submit that. If you have any questions, you can definitely email millionairebarber@gmail.com or send them a text, 615-496-3977. Now let's go to the checklist. You also going to receive a checklist. Now, what we're going to go over in this checklist, we're going to scroll down here to the bottom, because this is where a lot of you all have questions. Now, if we look at this, we have to do a grid sheet for the past 12 months of graduates, which is number 2. Right here, all currently attending students. You need that for number 1. Number 2, like I said, the graduates from the past 12 months. Number 3, the people that were terminated or withdrew the past 12 months. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, we made a grid sheet for you to where you can just fill those in. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull that up for you all so you can see it and you can make copies of it. All right. So let me pull that up for you and let's see. Let's see. Let's pull it up. Okay, so what we did, we made this in a Microsoft Word. All currently attending students. You're going to do last name first. So if their name is James Allen, you're going to put Allen James. If their name is James Smith, it would be Smith James. Or Susan Jones, Jones Susan, okay? The date the report was run, you're going to put that. Students start date. You look at their enrollment agreement to put that there. The course enrolled, whether it's Barber, Cosmo, Nails, Aesthetics, number of actual hours. The actual hours are the hours that they've actually physically been in the school. Scheduled hours. Those are the hours they were scheduled. I'll give you an example. Let's take this as an example. If your schedule is for a student to attend 30 hours per week, and they've been enrolled for 3 weeks, that's 30, 60, 90 scheduled hours, but they were physically at the school for 70 hours. That's 70 actual hours and 90 scheduled hours. Actual hours are physical hours they were there. Leave absence date. If they took that, most of y'all put NA. The next one, all graduates in each program from the past 12 months from the date of the visit, okay? We already know last name first, the date the report was run, the graduate's start date. You can find that on the enrollment agreement or contract. Course enroll. Scheduled graduate date. That's the date they were scheduled to graduate, which is on your student's enrollment agreement. The actual graduate date, that's the date they actually graduated. If they had a leave of absence, you put that most of the time, it'll probably be NA. Scroll down here. You're going to put the student's name in, last name first. I'll just give you an example. We'll just say Adams James. So that's how that will go. James Adams. All right. Last name first, or Bennett. So his name is Sam Bennett. So we'll do that. Last name first, date it was run. Student start date, you'll be able to look on their enrollment agreement. Last day they attended, you put that date there. Withdrawal determination date by the institution, that's the date that they withdrew. Actual hours clocked at the time that they withdrew. Scheduled hours at the time that they withdrew. So now actual hours. So just say they were scheduled to do 25 hours a week, and they were there for 4 weeks, a month. So that's 25, 25, 25, 25. That's 100 scheduled hours. But just say they only came 85 hours. It will be 85 actual hours, okay? That's how you do that. Now, there is a checklist, and we will talk about the checklist. Okay, so when you get your candidate visit, this is the checklist that you're going to have to do. So I'm going to show you all every document that you need. All of these documents are in your institutional self-study, and I'm going to show you exactly where they are. And of course, if you read this, you got to place the current policies listed below into folders. You got to label them. I will put a sticky note on them. So the first thing, leave of absence policy. You're going to need 2 copies. It tells you that right now. So if you go to your institutional self-study, and I'm going to show you exactly what that document is. Here's an example of the leave of absence policy request. This is the form right here, okay? That's an example of a blank form. Now, let me show you the actual policy. This is a leave of absence policy that I'm going to pull up right here. And this is in your catalog. So what you want to do, make 2 copies of this leave of absence policy. The next thing on the checklist, cross-reference satisfactory academic progress policy. You need 2 of those. So let me show you what those are. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Here it is. Okay, this is the NACCAS Satisfactory Academic Progress Policy Checklist. Here's the checklist. And your SAP policy is in your school catalog. And I'm going to pull that up right now. So go to your school catalog and pull up this SAP. You're looking at it right now in your school catalog. Make sure you copy that page, this page, and that page, okay? All right. Make 2 copies. The next thing is the cross-reference institutional refund policy. Let me show you what that looks like. Exhibit 7-3. Okay, here's the NACCAS refund policy. This is the withdrawal and settlement policy checklist. Now, this policy is in your school catalog. If you're in Texas, and there's some other states that use a Texas refund policy. So I'm going to show you a Texas refund policy right here, and I'm going to show you a NACCAS refund policy. What you're looking at right here is a Texas refund policy because their state mandates that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a refund policy that NACCAS uses if you don't use your state mandated refund policy. Okay, if you don't have a state mandated refund policy, this is a NACCAS refund policy right here. It's in your catalog, so make the copies of that, all right? So you're going to have to do 1 copy. Now, cross-reference enrollment agreement. So let's go to the ISS and the cross-reference enrollment agreement. That's what we're going to look at right now. And that's going to be IV8. Okay, this is a cross-reference enrollment agreement. This is the checklist. Now, this is the enrollment agreement. You're looking at the enrollment agreement, okay? This is what the enrollment agreement looks like. That's the answer for that checklist, okay? So now, the next thing, you're going to make 2 copies of that. Cross-reference catalog, you need 3 copies of that. So you're going to go to your ISS, IV3 right here, and this is the checklist for the catalog. All these numbers is already done in your ISS, so just take this out, make 3 copies of your catalog with the cross-reference. That's simple. Okay, the next thing, distance education, policy on distance education. Most schools are not doing distance education, so they probably wouldn't have a policy on distance education. If they are, then make sure you get that policy. If you need it, you can reach out to our team. So put NA on that. Internship policy. 99% of the schools, that will be NA also. Next thing, instructor meeting policy. All right, let's go there. Let me show you an instructor meeting policy, what that looks like. That's going to be let's see, instructor meeting policy. Let me go back to that and make sure. Instructor meeting policy. Okay, so yes. So we'll go here. Standard 2. So let's go to standard 2. Instructor meeting policy. We're going to go down here. And all right, here's the policy. Staff meetings are annually. Instructional issues, schools issues, and general business are discussed at this time. All right, so staff meetings are annually. That's the policy. Exhibit 2.7. If you look at this, this is instructor meeting minutes that they had. All right, instructor meeting minutes. So you want to put that with it also. The next thing, let's go to our checklist. Admissions policy and procedures. You're going to make 1 copy. So let's go there. And we're going to pull that up. Admissions policy and procedures. And that's going to be IV1 right here, admissions policy. You will pull that from your catalog. This is the admissions policy and procedure. Make a copy of that. How many copies? 1 copy. Transfer policy. Let's look up that. That's going to be IV15 in your ISS. Click here. This is the transfer policy. The next thing, reentry policy. All right. Click here, reentry policy. We got to go to our catalog. IV3 point, let's see. IV3, there's the catalog. And then we got to go to the reentry policy. So now we're going to go to our catalog. We got to go to the reentry policy and we got to make a copy of that. So everything that they're asking for is already in your ISS. It's just a matter of you going to Office Max or somewhere, printing out your entire ISS and then making copies of certain parts and labeling it and putting it in folders. All right. So let's go to the reentry policy. Okay. Right here. There's the reentry procedure, the policy. All right. Now, we'll go back. We got to look for the next thing is going to be, I believe, let's go to the checklist. Let's go to this checklist, and it is asking for the ability to benefit policy. Most schools don't accept ability to benefit students. You'd put in a, if you do have ability to benefit policy, it would be where your admissions policy is. All right, but you'd put NA on that 99% of the schools. Internal grievance policy, 1 copy. Let's go there. 5.7. So that's V7. Grievance policy. Here it is right here. All right, make a copy of that. The next thing, advising policy. So we want the academic advising policy and procedure. Okay, we got to go to our catalog, which is going to be IV3 catalog right here. And we got to find the academic advising policy. Scroll down. I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like because you already have it in your catalog. You already have it in your institutional self-study. So let's pull that up. There it is. Let's go back. Go back up so I can show you exactly what that looks like. There it is right here, academic progress. Okay, that policy. The next thing we're going to do is the attendance policy. So let's go to the attendance policy. If you go down, let's see. Right here, attendance progress evaluations. There it is right here. Their minimum is 67%. So you can make a copy of this page and you're going to make one copy. Now, we're moving on. State regulations governing the facilities, supplies, equipment, and other policies. Okay? Now, we got to find that. That's going to be in the ISS 3.2. So go here, 3.2, and you're going to make a copy of these pages because this has already been extracted. It's already been extracted from your rules and regulations from your state board. So you're going to make a copy of all of that. Okay. This right here, start from here on back up. So now the next thing, state regulations governing the curriculum. All right. So now we got to talk about where is the curriculum. All right. So let's click on here and we got to scroll down and I'm going to show you that. That's going to be 6.5 right here, where it talks about the curriculum. And that's in your state board rules and regulations. So you'll make copies of that. We'll go back. The next thing, state regulations governing a mandated refund policy, if applicable. Now, Texas, they have a state mandated refund policy. All right. That's in their rules and regulations. Now, most states follow the NACCAS refund policy. So if it says state regulations governing mandated, if you're not in Texas and a few other states, this is going to be NA. So we'll keep going. Now, documentation. Place one copy of each document below in the folders labeled with their contents. Improvement plan based on feedback from the advisory committee, students, and graduates. Okay, so that's going to be 1.11. So standard 1.11. So let's go back up to the top. And when we click on here, scroll down to number 11 under standard 1, and you'll just make a copy of that right here. That's the answer right here. Okay, the next thing, we're moving on this checklist. Plan for instructor continuing education. All right. Standard 2.8. Going down. Standard 2.8. This is the plan right here for continuing education for the instructors. All right. So you're going to make a copy of that. Let's move on. All right. Here we go. The next thing. Plan for use of substitutes. Let's look that up. That's going to be standard 2.5 right here. You're going to make a copy of that right there. That's the answer. We're moving on. Next step. Institutions operating policies and procedures. Now, I'm going to show you that, and I'll give you a copy of that for all of y'all that are in the program. So let me show you that. Basically, that's you extracting a lot of the policies and procedures from the school catalog. But let me show you what that looks like. This is an example of one of our schools that's in the program that's accredited. And this was their policies and procedures to operate. The mission statements in there, educational goals, facilities and equipment, class start dates, the holidays, school closing and opening, admissions requirements, all the courses in there, the curriculums are in there, policy for admissions, the admissions policy is in here, the registration of hours with the state board, the non-discrimination policy, sexual harassment policy, right to privacy and release of information, policy for review and educational files. So all of that's required to go in here, the grading procedures. I'm going to show you all everything in here, the graduation requirement, employment assistance. All of this stuff is in your catalog, but you want to extract it. Instructional materials, tuition payments. So you're talking about everything to run the school, the grievance procedures, satisfactory academic progress policy, academic evaluations, attendance evaluation policy, interruptions, of course, incompletes, withdrawals, appeal procedure, non-credit remedial course repetitions, transfer hours, reentry procedure, leave of absence policy. I'm showing y'all everything, course outlines, all of those in here. Now, this covers the tuition costs, your licensing, completion, and placement rates. That is everything that it covers for your institution's operating policies and procedures. Next thing, privacy and release of information policy forms. All right, so let's do that. Policy and release of information policy. All right, y'all ready for that? That's going to be the privacy. So people just can't come in and review your files. There's a privacy and release of information policy. Let me show you exactly what that looks like. All right, so that's going to be in your ISS. And that's in the catalog. Okay, so then we're going down to IV3. And let's look in the catalog because I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. Because if y'all see it, if you see this, all of y'all on this private Zoom, school owners, when you see this, you say, oh, this is in my catalog. I didn't know what that was. Well, now that you're seeing all of the documents and everything, it gives you a clear understanding. Because I know going to the NACCAS workshop, it kind of confuses you and things are not broken down to first grade level. But I break everything down first grade level so you all can have a clear understanding. All right, so here it is. You see that? There it is. Right to privacy and information release. You're going to make a copy of this. That's it right there. The next thing, program participation agreement. A lot of people always email me, DM call. I don't have a program participation agreement. You're going to put NA. If you're not accredited, receiving financial aid from the government, you will not have a program participation agreement or an ECAR, eligibility certification approval report. So put NA, keep on going to the next one. Articulation agreement. 99% of the schools, you will not have that. Put a NA, let's keep going. Training agreements with other entities, if applicable. 70% of y'all students, that'll be NA. Some of y'all have training agreements with the prisons. A lot of y'all may have training agreements with the high schools. Make a copy of that and put that in there. They'd want to see it. The next thing, requirements for graduation. We're going on down. That's going to be IX4. So look on your institutional self-study, IX4. This is the policy on the graduation requirements. All right. You're looking at it right here. So just go to your catalog, graduation requirements in there, make a copy of it. The next thing, publish annual report outcome rates. That's your graduate, licensure, and placement rates. If you're just getting in candidate status, you won't have these rates. But if you've been in candidate status and it's past November 30th, 9 times out of 10, you will have these rates. Let me show you what these rates look like. So it will be in your catalog. So let's go to the catalog. The catalog, IV.3. So let's go there and I will show you where these rates are. If we did your catalog, it would be toward the back of your catalog. Okay. So let's go here. We are toward the back. I see the rules. Let's look right here. You see that? Completion, licensure, and placement rates. Now they just got in candidate status, so they didn't have any other rates. All right. And you're gonna have to do an annual report every year, but we'll get into that in another training. If you watch another YouTube video or training or whatever, you'll see that. Just type in annual report or NACCAS annual report. All right. So the next thing, let's pull up the checklist, the NACCAS checklist. Advisory committee roster. Let's go to the advisory committee roster. That's going to be in standard 1, standard 1.6. Let's go up. All right. Now, we already know about the advisory committee roster. If you have a barber, Cosmo, nails, or aesthetics program, you're going to need 4 people. 4 people that are licensed working in a shop. That's either barber, stylist, nail tech, esthetician, whatever, to represent each program that you teach in your school. You must provide their name, as you see here, where they work, the name of the business, the address, the phone number, and their position, whether a barber, stylist, nail tech, or whatever. All right. Now, that's the advisory committee. So you see that roster. Now, the next thing, the advisory committee meeting minutes. A lot of y'all don't even know what that is. Our team will do those minutes for you and show you how to do them. I'm going to show you an example. All right. That's in standard 1. 1.7. All right. Here's the advisory committee meeting minutes. This is what it is right here. Exhibit 1.7. You're looking at it. That's simple. Make a copy of it like NACCAS requires. All right. Next thing, documentation of feedback from current students, graduates, and instructors. Let's go there. The documentation of the feedback. That's going to be 1.11. Let's go here. First standard. We're going to click on standard 1. Going down. Okay. Summary of feedback from advisory members, students, graduates, and instructors. Right here. You're going to copy that. It's already in your institutional self-study. Now, summary of feedback from current students, graduates, and instructors. Let me show you the documentation. I'm sorry. Let me show you that, and then I'm going to show you the summary. I just showed you the summary. Let me show you the documentation. Here's the documentation right here. The documentation is the actual survey. These are current student surveys, okay? Graduate student surveys, instructor surveys, all right? You see all that. Then we got the advisory meeting. So we got documentation of this. That's the documentation. Now, the next thing that they ask, we just showed the documentation, the summary of the feedback. Now let's do the summary of the feedback. That's 1.11, which is this right here. So you've looked at all the instructor surveys, instructor, current students, graduates, advisory, and what you're going to do is give a summary of what they're talking about. I'll give you an example. A lot of current students on their surveys, they'll put, the school doesn't have financial aid. We need to get financial aid. So that would be a summary of it. Graduates may say, I didn't get enough hair services. We need to get more traffic in. So that would be a summary of that. So I just wanted to give y'all that example. So let's go down here to 1.11. And this would be the summary. This right here. The documentation would be the actual documents that they filled out. Okay, here we go. List of current regular employed instructors. Let's look at them. That's going to be 2.1. Let's go to standard 2.1. When you go there, Here's a list right here. It's right in front of you. You see them. All right. Now, the next thing, personal file for each currently employed instructor. So in the personal file, you will have the instructor's license. You'll also have the instructor survey, which is this right here. All right. You'll have instructor's license, which is that right there. And also, if they took a distance education and they have a certificate, you'll put that in their file. When they got employed and filled out an employee application, put that in their file. A lot of school owners reach out to us because, believe it or not, they didn't have an employee application that they filled out. So we'll give them a blank one. The team will email it, and then they'll fill it out and put it in the instructor's file. Moving on to the next thing on this checklist. License and credentials of each instructor include substitutes. Okay. Let's show the license. Go here. All this is copies of instructor's license, which is right here. You're looking at it. If you got 3 instructors, you need to have 3 different licenses. It's that simple. That's real easy right there. Next thing on the checklist, let's see. It is going to be instructor meeting minutes for the most recent 12 months, because you need to have these every 12 months. Let's see what that looks like. Instructor meeting minutes. Right here, 2.7. Click on it. And a lot of you will say, well, I don't know how to do instructor meeting minutes. That's what the team is for. You don't have to know how to do anything. That's why we have the team. So you'll make a copy of this. Next thing. Documentation completed continuing education for each instructor. Some states like Texas, you don't have to have an instructor's license, so you wouldn't have documentation of continuing education for each instructor. A lot of other states you will. And that's a matter of them getting continuing education hours, and then you'll get a certificate. I can show you what one of those may look like, but they could look like different ones. It depends on which class you took, who taught the program. So let me see. That's just a certificate where they went to an instructor meeting. I mean, I'll show you one here just so you can see, but it could be any continuing education program. But I'll show you like a certificate. This is one where a school owner went. All right. Next thing, documentation of distance education training for instructors, if applicable. A lot of schools don't teach distance education, so you would put NA. If you did, you just need that certificate where they went to distance education training, but most schools don't teach that, so that would be NA. The next thing, performance evaluations for each instructor. Let me show you where that's at. That's going to be Exhibit 212 right here. And about the instructor evaluation forms, your instructor evaluations must be done at least every 12 months, one time. And NACCAS wants you to do it either on the anniversary hire date of the instructor, or you can pick one particular date each year. Most schools will put in their ISS one particular date. And the date that you choose, make sure that date is the same date for every instructor that you do the evaluation. All right, so now you see that. So we're moving on. State license. You already know what your school license is. That's what that is. Let me show you school license, although everybody should know what their school license look like. Exhibit 2.1. That's just your school license, what the state issued to you. Next, example of advertising for the previous 12 months. If you have a barber, Cosmo, and nails, you need 3 different types of advertising that they can see. It could be a flyer. Make sure you have all work by supervised students. Make sure that's on there. But I'll show you what that looks like. And that's going to be Exhibit 3.1. 8. So let's go there. Exhibit 3.8, advertising. You see, school name, got a picture, address, phone number, all work done by supervised students, and what program it is. All right. So make a copy of that. Now, copy of pre-enrollment information provided to students for access to the institution's catalog, most recent annual report statistics. I'm not going to read all this. I'm going to give you the answer, the documents that they're looking at right here. Let me show you. Actually, let me show you. They're looking for the pre-enrollment receipt of information, which you're looking at right now. Okay. And they're looking for the new student orientation checklist. All you got to do is make a copy of each one. That's what they're looking for. Make sure that these are always dated before the student starts class or on the date that they start. These cannot be dated after they start. You will get a big write-up from NACCAS. That's a no-no. The next question, documentation showing that students have received the aforementioned required pre-enrollment information. The next one, orientation information provided to students. The next one, evidence students were provided with access to orientation. What I just named to you all, the answer is going to be this. These two documents right here. The pre-enrollment receipt of information, the new student orientation checklist. That's provided. Now, let me share something else with you. Orientation information provided to students. It'll be those two documents. Also, you want to put the catalog right there because in orientation, you present each student with a catalog. Whether it's probably PDF where you email it or text it to them to save you on paper, but you want to let NACCAS know this catalog is provided. Some of y'all may provide the rules and regulations like the state board laws. If you do that, you want to have that too. Now, employment assistance provided to students and graduates. You cannot guarantee that students are going to get a job. So what we got to do, go to the catalog. That's IV Port 3. Y'all ought to know that by heart by now. And then we got to talk about employment assistance, that you don't guarantee that. You will try to help them find a job, but you can't guarantee it. And there's a policy on that in your catalog. So I'm scrolling and I'm going to show you exactly where that's at. Employment assistance, we'll keep scrolling to the catalog. There it is right here, employment assistance. So you're going to make a copy of this right here and employment assistance. The next thing, program outlines for each course. All right. That's going to be V.4, program outlines for each course. Let me show you what that looks like. So basically, this is your program outline, the curriculum that you have in your school catalog. If you got 4 programs, you'll have 4 curriculums. You're going to make copies of that. You're looking at it right now. They got Class A Barber. You may have Barber, Cosmo, Nails, Aesthetics. Make a copy of those. All right. Sample lesson plans for each course. That should already be in your institutional self-study. And sample lesson plans, exhibit 6.11. All right. Most schools either have the My Ladies lesson plans, because you have the My Ladies book and you can purchase the lesson plans to teach and everything. Print that out, put it in your ISS. It's already in your ISS. So here it is. Make sense? Okay. Now, the next thing. Documentation showing that the institution is responsible for distance education, if applicable. Most schools don't have distance education, so you wouldn't show documentation. If you do, you would show the documentation which would have been in your institutional self-study. The next thing, documentation of state regulation, like a letter or whatever from the state talking about the amount of distance education that can be offered at your school, whether it's 10%, 20%, or whatever. NACCAS will not allow over 50% of distance education, but most schools will have NA on that. Example of written and practical tests. Okay. A lot of you all will already have tests from my ladies. My ladies already has tests. So I'll show you all some written tests. I'll show you some practical tests. The practical test, that's tests that they actually got to do with their hands. An example, if you're doing a haircut, okay, step one may be draping the hair, the client. Step two may be prepping the client. Step three may be cutting the client's hair. Each step may be worth 5 points. If they get one wrong or a half of a one wrong, it's wrong. It's either right or wrong. NACCAS will try to trick you and say, hey, if they get a fourth right or a third of it right or half of it right, how do you grade it? It's either right or wrong. We grade on the rubric. That's the answer. Now, I'll show you what written tests look like and the practical test. The written test, let me give you an example. Let's see, there should be a written test back here, like a multiple choice. And let's see. Because they have those tests already done in my ladies. And it'll be like a multiple choice or whatever. So all of y'all know what that is. Now let's go to a practical test. Practical test, here it is. Look. Practical examination. This happens to be a roller placement. You can see it's either right or wrong. Student's name, how many hours they had, the date. The instructor has to sign off on it and date it too and put the grade on there. So I wanted you all to see that. Let's see. Completed forms, practical grading criteria used for evaluating students. I just showed you all that. That's for both of them. So let's go back there. There it is. You see? There's the grading, all that. Next. Copy of each of the same student list previously provided to NACCAS staff. See, when NACCAS comes to your school, minimum a week before they come, you got to provide a spreadsheet of the current students at the school right now, the last 12 months of students that graduated, the last 12 months of students that withdrew. And I can pull up one of those forms to show you actually what that looks like. So what I'm going to do now, this will be like the last thing that we are going to do. So let me pull up this form right now. So I am going to my computer and I'm going to pull up this Word document. And the team has already made this document. So all you have to do is download it and put your students' names in here. They've already labeled it for you. This student list right here. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to make it larger. Look, the team already did this. So you'll be able to download that, put your school name, all currently attending students, last name first, the date report was ran. So basically, if the team is coming 2 weeks later and you run the report a week before they come, that's the date. Student start date, you'll get that from their enrollment agreement, okay? Course enrolled, whatever course they're in, Barber, Stylist, or Nail Tech, number of actual hours. A lot of people get this mixed up, actual hours and scheduled hours. Let me explain that to you. Now, the actual hours, if your students are scheduled to come 30 hours a week and they come for 3 weeks, they're supposed to be there for 3 weeks. That's 30, 60, 90 hours. What if the student only came 70 of those 90 hours? The question is, which one is actual, which one is scheduled? 70 is the actual hours. Actual hours are hours that they were physically actually inside the building. That was 70 hours. Scheduled hours, if they didn't miss any days, scheduled 30, 60, 90 hours for them 3 weeks, that's scheduled hours. And then if they had a leave absence date, if not, put in A. Now, the next spreadsheet is all the graduates that graduated the past 12 months. Every school that's getting a candidate visit and a final visit must do this spreadsheet. That's why the team made this spreadsheet for you all. So you can just download it and type it in. It doesn't get any easier than that. They even put the lines in there. So now all graduates in each program from the 12 months prior to this visit date to present, last name first. What that means, if his name is David Allen, you're going to type Allen, comma, David. If her name is Lisa Wilson, you're going to put Wilson, comma, Amina. If her name is Beverly Thornton, you're going to put Thornton, comma, Beverly. If her name is Amina Taylor, you're going to put Taylor, comma, Amina, and put it in alphabetical order. It's that simple. Doesn't get any easier than that. So the team has really broke this down for you all. Course enroll. If they're enrolled in Barber, Cosmo, just put it in there. Scheduled graduation date. That's the date on their enrollment agreement when they first started that they were supposed to graduate. Doesn't matter if they did, the scheduled date. So if they enrolled January 25th, 2023, and they were supposed to graduate January 26th, 2024, and that's on their enrollment agreement, scheduled graduation date would be the January 26th or whatever, 2024. Actual graduation date. That's the date that they actually graduated from your school. Okay? Leave of absence date. A lot of them probably didn't have a leave of absence. Put in a final list. And this is last. Final for this candidate visit. All students who have been enrolled in the school the past 12 months that withdrew, terminated, got kicked out, or whatever. They go here. You already know last name first. Listen, last name first. A lot of the men don't get this. If his name is James Allen, they'll write James Allen. No, Allen is his last name. Put that first. It said last name first. Date report was wrong. You put that. Student start date. Go to their enrollment agreement because NACCAS, they're going to pull a couple of files and they're going to look at this and they're going to make sure that that enrollment agreement, their start date matches what you put on here. You'd be surprised how many school owners will put a different date. Don't do that. They're going to write you up. It's that simple. Last date of attendance. When was the last date that they were physically there? We're talking about people that withdrew. Put that date there. Withdrawal determination date by the institution. They might have withdrew February 22nd, but they might have called you March 2nd to withdraw. That would be the determination date. Actual hours clocked at the time of termination. That means how many hours did they have when you withdrew them or kicked them out or terminated? That's what that is. Scheduled hours. That's how many hours they would have had if they never missed a date. Let me explain that because I already know some of y'all are twisted up. If they're scheduled to do 20 hours a week, I'm just giving you an example. And they went 4 weeks, 20, 40, 60, 80. They were scheduled 80 hours, them 4 weeks. That's 80 scheduled hours. Okay. Now, the third week or whatever, they stopped coming. All right. There was 60 actual hours. Okay. But then that fourth week, they call and say they're not coming back. All right. So you withdrew them the fourth week. So that was 80 scheduled hours, but they were only there 60 hours. So that's 60 actual hours. So this is the spreadsheet right here. So I know a lot of y'all are looking at this. All of y'all in the program, make sure you email the team and say, hey, I need a copy of this spreadsheet when NACCAS is coming to visit, and they will email you. Now this video, I recorded it. All right. I recorded this. So make sure that you all get a good understanding of all of this because it was recorded. And if you have any questions, just make sure you all reach out to the team and ask them. So let me show you that last sheet that we looked at again, the Microsoft Word. Here it is, that spreadsheet. You're looking at it right now. On the checklist, I showed y'all the checklist. They're going to email you this checklist. Let's look at that checklist again. I'm pulling this checklist up so y'all can watch this video. It's not going to get any easier than this because you're beauty professionals. You're barbers, stylists, nail techs, estheticians, makeup artists. You're visual learners. Even if you don't know anything, look at this video. Look at the paper, the documents. I'm showing you this. Doesn't get any easier than this. All right? Doesn't get any easier than this. I went through this entire thing. The student list, I just showed you that. Then as we go down, I just showed you everything on these policies that's in your ISS. Even if you didn't know what it was, you can see it, and it tells you how many copies. All right? So this concludes this training. If you got any questions, email the team, millionairebarber@gmail.com. I know some of y'all may call me or text me or whatever. That's fine. But the only thing I'm going to tell you, hey, all you need to email the team and they'll send it to you. But if you just got a question, just reach out. I'll be more than happy to answer it. So that concludes this training.